Hi, I'm Celso Velasquez, and this is my week 12 discussion post video. In this week's module and lecture, we learned about gender and personality. And the main thing I found interesting, but also kind of questioned, was the fact that if gender and sex were put on a spectrum, there would be a line down the middle of the spectrum, but that only really applies to the United States because other cultures and countries have more than two genders. So there is no one specific line for gender and sex. Whereas in the United States, if someone is the opposite gender of what they were born with, or there is more than two genders, then that person is considered transgender. Whereas in another culture, it's not considered transgender, it's considered normal because they have more than two genders, they have three or four. Um, and this kind of shows that gender and sex is more or less cultural and less biological. And this ties into my other interesting fact, which was the fact that women from a young age can be caring, whereas men show less emotions and are more reserved. And this is due to how they are raised. Even from before they're born, if a girl finds out she's, or if a woman finds out she's pregnant, sorry, and she finds out it's a girl, she's gonna decorate the nursery with pink clothing and pink stuff, and the baby clothes will always be pink, purple, or very light colors like pastels. Whereas if someone finds out they're having a boy, the nursery will be green or blue, and their toys will be very boyish. Like their first toy will be like a very kiddish toy car or a toy truck, whereas a baby girl's first toy will be a baby doll or a Barbie. And this follows them as they grow up. They're meant to be like, a girl is raised to be more caring and more sensitive, and a girl is raised to be more inclined with her sensitive side, especially with towards other women, where men are meant to be less sensitive and have less emotions because they are raised to be tough and they're not allowed to show emotions. And this entire chapter basically just showed that gender and sex are more cultural than they are biological, because even though there are biological factors like chromosomes and biologically men are more aggressive than women are, it also is a huge factor of all that, is the way women and men are meant to be raised and are taught to be raised. Because if a man is raised with, or a boy is raised with only girls, then that boy will grow up to be a little more sensitive and show his feelings a little bit more. And people will say that boy is more feminine than he is masculine, which is not true. It's just the fact that there are gender norms that separate men and women. And if a man is more sensitive, then he can be like, people are saying, oh, he's not supposed to act like that because he's a boy. Where a girl can be raised by all men and she'll be more tomboy, and she'll, instead of playing with Barbies, she'll want to go fishing or playing with trucks. And that's just the fact that it's a cultural thing where people, they're raised to have a specific norm and they're raised to be a certain way, but when they're not, people see that as abnormal, and that's just not true. And that's what I learned, and that's what I found interesting from this week's lecture and video.